Hi, in this movie I want to talk about operator precedence just because as we start to do things with ActionScript more and more, it's important to know how ActionScript is going to resolve calculations when you type arithmetic on a line. Now, as you might remember, back in the old days of math class, operator precedence has to do with which operators are addressed first. So let me give you an example. If I type in 9 plus 3 divided by 4 times 5, times is an asterisk in Flash, times 5 minus 1, if we were to walk through this left to right, we'd probably assume that the answer would be 14. 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15, minus 1 equals 14. But those of you who remember operator precedence remember that certain things get calculated before others. So you have division and multiplication and addition and subtraction, and to be quite honest with you, it's hard to remember which comes first. So what I'm going to teach you about today isn't how to remember which comes first or next. I'm going to just remind you that you can use parentheses. So anyway, we're going to run this out. Now if I do this calculation just like this in Flash, let's test the movie. Flash does this calculation, but we don't see any result. So the first thing I want to show you is this cool thing called trace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just type out trace. I'm in the actions dialog or the actions panel, and just type in trace and put in parentheses what I want Flash to report on, and then a semicolon again, just like any other line in ActionScript. Now I'm going to run it again, and this time notice that in our output window here we get the result. Now 11.75, that's a lot different than what we had wanted Flash to tell us. If we thought that we'd go left to right, and that didn't work that way. So the thing that's going on is Flash is using operator precedence, and that's why we're getting a result different than what we thought. So here's how you get around this. This is where I really want to go with this. If you want certain numbers to be deciphered first, or certain calculations to be done first, put them in parentheses. So now I'm going to put 9 plus 3 in a set of parentheses. And then I'm going to want that result divided by 4, so I'm going to put that in another set of parentheses. So now it's going to do 9 plus 3, come up with the result, and then it's going to divide that result by 4. And then to get that to multiply by 5, it'd do that anyway. But just for clarity, I'm going to go ahead and put this in another set of parentheses, so that when you look at this, you can say, okay, now what's going to happen is it's going to do this 9 plus 3 calculation first. It's going to take that value and divide it by 4 next. It's going to take that value, times it by 5 next, and then it's going to take that value and subtract 1 from it. So now let's run it and see what we get. So I'm just going to press command return, and in trace, or in the output field, we now get 14. So that's what operator precedence is about, is the fact that when you're working in Flash, it's going to execute things in a way that sometimes doesn't make logical sense. If you're a math person, you probably remember that and have it burned into your brain, and you know which way it's going to go. But for those of us who have trouble remembering stuff like that, just put things in parentheses. If you put your calculations in parentheses, you tell Flash ahead of time what you want it to calculate. Now, in a coming video here, I'm going to talk about variables. You could easily put in a variable instead. So instead of 9 plus 3, it might be my var. my var could be, hopefully it would be a number, but my var would now be calculated with +3 first, and then we would, string out from there. But this is the first thing I want you to remember in Flash is at least in terms of actions, this idea of operator precedence. And then the other thing that's very handy is remembering trace. Let me just finish here. You can have trace do anything. If I put in a string, I can trace that and it'll show up. Notice it shows up there. If you put in strings, you have to put them in with quotes on them. If I do hello like this, Flash is going to think this is a variable. And if I run it now, I'll get an error. See, it says, hey, I'm accessing an undefined property. If I come back, sorry, wrong place. If I come back and make hello a variable, we'll talk about variables in a minute. Var hello, and we'll make this a string variable. There we go. Now if I trace hello, it should work okay because I've defined it up above. Let's see what happens. Here now we get output that works correctly. So anyway, in this video I wanted to talk about operator precedence primarily, but also this cool thing called trace, which you can use to trace all kinds of things. They can be variables, they can be calculations, they can be strings. So in the next movie I'm going to talk a little bit about variables themselves.